Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to my first webcast of 2023. As you've probably heard, not much has changed in the coming year. On the other hand, I'm speaking, of course, with regards to aviation and aerospace industries that are continuing to thrive with robust job opportunities for everybody. And for the aspiring young aviation and aerospace professionals who are trying to jumpstart their careers, there is a ton, and I do mean a ton, of aviation scholarships that are available, which brings me to why I'm kicking off the new year with my first show, talking to 4 aviation associations, the alphabet groups as we like to call them, about their scholarship programs. There are actually a lot of scholarship programs, but today I will focus on these 4 organizations and the deadlines and the details and the specifics related to most of them having deadlines related to the first quarter of this year. I will follow up with at least 2 more shows specific to aviation and aerospace scholarships and opportunities in the coming months as more deadlines are out in front of us and that type of thing. Anyhow, let's get things started. My guest today includes Taz Thomas, the Scholarship Program Manager for the You Can Fly AOPA Foundation. AOPA, of course, stands for Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. Also joining us today is Mike Adamson, the President and CEO of the Aircraft Electronics Association. He's going to tell us a lot about that. That's the kind of a unique organization in the aviation industry dealing with avionics, et cetera, that we don't always hear much about. But there are some great opportunities with that. And so looking forward to having that conversation with Mike. Another busybody who will have a lot to share with us from EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association, is Margaret Brill. Margaret is the director of the EAA Aviation Foundation. And then last, but definitely not least, I know that's kind of a cliche of a segue, but I'm excited to have Glenn Cotterback, the membership manager for the Air Traffic Control Association. You know, diversity of my guests works out really well, spotlighting a variety of areas like aviation, electronics, and air traffic control, in addition to being a pilot or a mechanic and some of the many other opportunities in the industry. So let me get things started with Taz Thomas with the You Can Fly Aircraft Owner and Pilots Association, the foundation, AOPA Foundation, and talk a little bit. Taz, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you today?
Great, really great to have you with us
Thank
today,
you.
and looking forward to. You've been on the show before, but it was last year's scholarship stuff, so it's glad to do an update. And you know, you guys have a lot going on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about You Can Fly and the foundation, and then we'll get into some specifics regarding the scholarships.
Sure, absolutely. So at You Can Fly, we're bridging the gap. We're trying to get our members to reach their aviation goals. So by awarding these scholarships, we make it happen.
Well, that's succinct. So tell us about the scholarships. What are some of the specific scholarships that you guys are offering and that you have deadlines for coming up?
So to start, we have over a dozen scholarships that are available right now, ranging from $2,500 to $14,000. And those scholarships cover primary flight training, advanced ratings and certificates, and also aviation maintenance scholarships. So any applicant applying can apply for one of those. The great thing about our application cycle this year is that we made it much easier for applicants to apply. So they only have to complete one scholarship application to get in the pool for everything that we offer.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea. So instead of having to do multiple applications, if they're trying for several different kinds, they can do one and then you earmark it for what it may apply to.
Correct.
So tell us about that application process. And I mean more in the sense, not getting into the weeds with it, but how is the response to it? And what are some of the, I'll put it a different way. What are some of the things that kids are, shy away from or concerned about as they're considering a scholarship? I say kids, but young people, some people, can be post-college and still be applying, I take it.
Right, that's correct. I would say a lot of applicants get a little stressed out over the essay responses. And what I tell applicants is that you can start the application, pause it and save it and come back. It does not have to be completed in one sitting. So you can take your time, write your essay responses in a Word document, and go back to it. There's no need to, rush through it. You could have someone, a parent, a mentor, look over the application to help you with your essay responses. A second set of eyes is always good.
Okay, so that's a big aspect of it, is doing the essay portion.
Yes. So our application consists of the application itself, which is the essay responses, and 2 letters of recommendations. And if you're a high school student, your high school transcript. And I just wanted to point out that it doesn't have to be an official copy. An unofficial copy is fine.
Okay. Oh, I got you. So, can you be a little bit more specific? You mentioned earlier some of the types of scholarships, but could you be a little more specific about each scholarship, or just tell what they are if you have the list handy?
So we have about 17. Our biggest scholarship is the Ray Foundation Scholarship, which awards up to 80 students primary flight training scholarships and up to 20 teacher flight training scholarships.
Okay, so for people that aren't familiar, primary flight training will take you through what with that scholarship?
Your initial pilot private certificate.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so you award up to 80 of those?
Yeah, so we award 80
Each
high school
cycle?
Yes, that's correct.
Nice.
So 80 high school students and up to 20 teachers. One of the new requirements is that the knowledge exam must be completed in order to qualify. And we do have quite a few resources available to help students complete that.
The knowledge exam, are you talking about ground school?
The FAA exam?
Yeah, ground school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're saying that they need to complete ground school and pass the exam in order to apply for that?
The exam, yes, correct.
Yeah. No, that's great. I've heard of others doing that. I think it makes the applicant more committed in the sense that that they really want to do this, and it's not just a happenstance. I can get a scholarship and maybe I can fly. So
right,
I'm sure you weed that out in other ways, but that's a really good move.
Yeah. So we're getting a lot of applications already. I do want to encourage everyone to apply early because the deadline is approaching February 10th, and it'll be here before we know it.
It sure will. It sure will. So the deadline comes up February 10th. Do you have a ballpark of how many applicants you get overall?
Yeah, we get about 4,500 each cycle.
Oh, wow.
And
that's a lot of work for you guys.
Right. And last year we awarded 139 scholarships.
Okay. Yeah. That's a pretty robust program.
It is. We get quite a few. And I will say we get the bulk the last week of the applications being open. Of course
you do. Yeah. Well, that's okay. I was going to talk about one of my daughters and her last minute application process, but that's another story. Anyhow, so how do you guys notify the winners of the scholarship, and what's the steps after they find out that they've actually received a scholarship?
Okay, so once the applications close on February 10th, it does take us some time to, weed through those applications and do the awarding process. We do notify all applicants. It'll be probably around mid to late May when they'll receive a decision via email. And we do let everyone know regardless of the decision. So everyone will get an email regardless.
Of saying that you either got it or you didn't.
Correct.
Got you. Yeah.
And then once recipients are awarded, we give them a prepaid expense card and they'll use that for their flight training.
Sure. Now, you mentioned that you have the advanced flight training scholarships too. Besides having, for example, your private pilot's license, any other requirements for that?
So it does vary. So for example, we have some where it's location dependent. So we have all the criteria on our website, but it does vary. Each scholarship, especially with advanced, is so unique.
Okay. So it got you. Anything else that you want to mention? That, I mean, you've been doing this for a while, and you that's a lot of applicants that you guys process through, and it's a lot of scholarships that you give away. So is there any other tips or background information you think would be helpful for those who are watching?
Yes, I would encourage everyone to just let your passion shine on your application. This is where we get to know you. This is where we get to, learn about your aviation journey, your aviation goals. So tell us all. We want to hear about the flight that you took with your grandfather when you were little, or what you plan on doing once you complete your program. Do you plan on, flying commercial, or we want to hear about all of your goals. This is the place, to really describe yourself and what you want to do in the future.
Got you. So again, the deadline's coming up February 10th.
Correct.
Is that February 10th at midnight, I guess?
Yeah, 11:59.
Okay. Very specific. No, 11:59. No, that's great. So I think it's going to be really good that you guys have that and that you're continuing to push that program. So yeah. If I appreciate you having taking the time to be on the program. I am going to, in case I have any questions, ask you to hold in the, offline in case we have anybody else, any questions that come up.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Thank you. So let's go to our next association, which is the Aircraft Electronics Association. Freudian slip. That's what happens when you work for an organization for a long time and then you forget you're not there anymore. Mike Adamson. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And it's really great to have you, and really looking forward to hearing about the electronics world or the avionics world of aviation, because it's something that I think, for those of us who are in it, we take it for granted and know it quite well. For those who are not aware that this is something that can be a great opportunity for another aspect of an aviation career. So why don't you start out, though, by telling us a little bit about the association, which you have been with since the 90s, if I remember correctly?
Yes, sir. It's been a while, since
dating
99.
you a little bit, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about AEA.
Absolutely. Well,
Association.
Sure. First of all, appreciate you having us on. Thank you for that. We're an association that's been around since 1957. We've got nearly 1,300 members in 40 different countries around the world. And our businesses manufacture, sell, and install avionics. We've got some members that are distributors. We've got academic members, engineering members. So a whole plethora of types of businesses that support cockpit and cabin electronics in aircraft. And typically, our members are going to focus on the business and general aviation aircraft. These organizations, the majority of our membership are certified repair stations, also known as aviation maintenance organizations. And perfect timing for the call. We need people.
So we know, yeah.
We need people, and it's it's one of those careers that I don't think a lot of people know about or think about, but it's the perfect combination of technology and aviation. And there's a lot of exciting things coming up in the future. Now's the great time to get in. The pay is really good. The opportunities are really good. So we appreciate this opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I try to emphasize on this show, is that people tend to think of being a pilot or a mechanic and the obvious things, and they don't realize, especially young people, even the ones that are in an aviation school or college or university, they don't realize that there's so many different opportunities. And it's really based on your skill set. So if you love the industry, if you love aviation or the aerospace aspect of aviation, and you want to be in it, it's a matter of what you're capable of. So coming back to the electronic side, or the aviation electronics side, aircraft electronics, with all of the avionics, and you mentioned engineering, et cetera, and all of these things apply, and that type of thing. Before we get into the specifics of your scholarship program, can you tell a little bit more about what the opportunities are from your perspective? I kind of touched on it, but from your perspective, in terms of being an avionics technician and things like that.
Sure. Yeah, it's changed over the years because the technology is changing, well, daily, right? So, before I came in, in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of, component repair. They're actually fixing radios that go in the airplane. Since my time in the industry, the advancement of these technologies has been so fast that focus has really shifted to the installation, the retrofit of those technologies in these modern aircraft. And so primarily when we talk about needing technicians, we're looking for folks that'll do the installation. And, that's fabricating harnesses, building panels, tearing out interiors and rerunning wires, connecting antennas, hooking up autopilot servos. There's lots of things that go on, and you get to touch so many different aircraft. It's never, it's never the same job twice, right? And then, the neat part, I think, for this generation that's so familiar with technology, these younger kids that are coming up, it's no big deal to them.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. They're doing software loads, software configuration, troubleshooting, the electronics. And then, we tend to think about the cockpit, but there's this whole, introduction of technologies into the cabin, from entertainment to communication, internet.
Yeah, the
movies,
connectivity
videos.
is a huge one now,
Yeah.
particularly in business aviation. It's kind of like it's everything needs to be what I call seamless. They go from the office to the car to the plane, to the car to a meeting, and they want to be connected the entire time on their phone, on their email, internet, et cetera, and so forth. So yeah, that's huge. And I do know that people now that are even studying to be in aircraft and power plant mechanic and A&P, a big part of that is the avionics portion.
Absolutely. We see a real opportunity for current A&Ps who are interested in, maybe moving away from some of the mechanical things that they're used to into the electronic aspects of the aircraft. There's a real opportunity to cross over. So when we talk about these opportunities with scholarships, it's not just for high school students. It's for career changers and current college students that may be already in an A&P program.
Yeah, I know guys that work on, some of the big aircraft, Airbus and Boeing and stuff like that, and they plug laptops and what's the other, I'm talking about the small computers. But anyhow, they plug them in to actually help them locate where the problem is. So there's a lot of that now going on. Speaking of that, is that also kind of in the same realm of aircraft electronics?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the real appeal to this this career is, and maybe we don't tell that story well enough. But this generation is familiar with phones and tablets and iPads. Those applications are used every day in the maintenance of aircraft. And so if you like doing that on the ground, you'll like doing that on an airplane, potentially in the air.
Sure.
But there's just a ton of opportunity, and they're so good at navigating software. It's secondhand to them. You have a real advantage when you come into one of these businesses because you just understand the logic of a user interface and the troubleshooting process, with your everyday technology. Well, that applies in airplanes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your scholarship program. Tell us a little bit about that and what it all entails.
Okay, so our program's been around for about 30 years. We started an educational foundation in 1990, and the purpose was to, give out scholarships to attract future technicians into the industry. Since that time, we've given out about a little over $1.5 million. We're a little bit smaller in our program compared to some of the larger ones you're talking to today, but we average about 22 to 25 awards per year. And the total of those awards is about $40,000. So you figure about a $2,000 average per award. What's interesting about that is, education is expensive, and it gets more expensive every year.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how far $1,000 or $2,000 goes at some of the community colleges that have these technical programs. So, winning an award, back to back, for instance, is $4,000 towards your community college program. That's a pretty good amount. In some states, that pays for everything, believe it or not. So we've had some award winners that have actually had money left over after that. So don't be alarmed by the fact that this isn't, a full ride to a university. It certainly will help you, but our awards range from $1,000 to $6,000. And like I said, there's 22 of them.
And it takes you in the right direction.
Exactly. And like I said, you can win back to back. We've had numerous award winners over the years, get them their freshman year and get them again their sophomore year.
Yeah.
Deadline's coming up for us as well. We're April 1st.
Okay.
And we have an online application, which is pretty simple. It's aea.net/scholarships.
Okay.
Takes you to it, and you'll see the list of all the awards, what they're for. Now, we do have some that are specific to our members. We encourage technicians to fly as well. So those you'll kind of have to navigate around. If you're not an AEA member or working for an AEA member company, you wouldn't be eligible for those. But the idea is to, for those technicians that are already in the business, there's an award out there for you to learn to fly as well. Beyond that, then it's, someone in high school that's graduating, going on to community or technical college or university. And it can be an avionics program, or it can be an aircraft maintenance technician program.
Yeah. So along those lines, give me an idea of the applicants that you guys have had, like some of the applicants you had last year. What direction did they end up going as a result of being a recipient of your scholarship?
A lot of them are first-year students, and so they're just continuing their programs. When they graduate, they've got everything from, we asked them their career plans, and I appreciate Taz saying what she did about, focusing on your career plans, because that's a big part of the application process. And so we see them go on to everything from, drones to the eVTOL community, some of the startups in there, of course, our member organizations, manufacturing, engineering. It's the full gamut of careers. Obviously, we're focused on getting them into the technical aspects, being a technician at one of our maintenance organizations, but we know they have aspirations that really span the globe.
Yeah. Do you guys have a student membership for AEA?
We don't. We're a member company organization.
Member company, right? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yep. So, however, we do have 60 academic member institutions. So a lot of the schools that everyone's familiar with that offer either flight or aviation maintenance or avionics are members of our organization. And so it's sort of a trickle down to those students.
Okay.
So we work through those institutions. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely great to hear that. I was going to ask you about the going back to the kids again, and really in terms of applying for a scholarship, and let's just say somebody has technical abilities and they're in high school and they're trying to figure out what opportunities might exist. In terms of applying for something like what you guys are talking about, what recommendations do you have for people that are watching?
I think the biggest thing and what will set you apart from the other applicants, and we get about 350 applicants per year. What will set you apart from the others is what you're doing outside of school. And I know it's not possible to have a job at an airport for everybody. That's not in the works. But if there's aero clubs at your school, if you've been to an aviation high school, if you can join any type of aviation related club, if you're showing how you're studying offline or doing something volunteering at some of these larger shows like EAA, if you're involved in anything aviation that you can document, that really helps. It shows us that you're not just looking at this career because the pay is good and there's a lot of opportunity. You're looking at this career because you're passionate about aviation.
Right.
So I would really stress to all the applicants to focus on what you do outside of school that's related to aviation, and then definitely explain what your future career plans are. Have that thought out. Tell us that you've talked to some shops and what they expect and where you want to work. That really lets us know that you're diving into this career and you want to be a part of this aviation community.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think also probably want to let everybody know that while there may not be a job opportunity, there are service organizations or service companies, MROs, at some of your airports in the region that you could just go and talk to. I always like to tell young people, you can just walk into a place and ask to speak to somebody and start talking to them. And because you're somebody trying to get into the industry, they're going to be receptive to it. They're probably going to give you more information than you asked for.
I agree completely. I do think that, the fence around the airport is something that stays in the way of these kids, coming up and just talking to somebody about, what's possible in this field. And it's unfortunate, but you can still knock on a door and find your way into the airport and start asking questions. Like you said, you'd be surprised how much you learn in that one visit. The demand is high, and and we're looking for some motivated kids to get into the field.
Sure. So tell me again, to apply, what's the email address?
So it's aea.net/scholarships.
Right. And
Pretty
then
simple.
not the email, the website address. And then the deadline is?
It's April 1st. It's an online application, and a lot like what Taz explained, our application for the ones that are avionics and aviation maintenance focused, you fill out one application and you check the box for those that apply. And so
Gotcha.
It's one application per. It does have the questions we just talked about, career plans and what your outside activities are. And there also is an essay. It's about 300 words. And my recommendation for the essay is work on that separately in a Word document or Google Doc, get it all tidied up, copy and paste it into our online application tool, and you're all set.
Yep, sounds good. So deadline April 1st, 11:59, like Taz?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Mike, thank you so much for being with us today and telling us all about the Aircraft Electronics Association, AEA, because I think, again, it's something that is a significant aspect of our industry, but we don't always hear about it. So I was really glad to be able to have you, and especially with your history with them and you being the boss now, it's great to have you. Oh, and before I forget, you have a convention coming up. Tell us a little bit about that in case anybody might be interested or even lives in the area, might want to try to check it out.
Yeah, thank you for the plug. I appreciate that. The end of April, so April 24th through the 27th in Orlando, Florida. We'll be at the Gaylord Resort Hotel there, and it's a show for the manufacturers and their dealer network. We encourage students who are interested to reach out, and we'll get you in there. We're not an open to the public show,
Sure,
but in a sense we are for that type of thing. If there's someone that's interested in checking out our trade show floor, we'd be happy to have them, especially if they're interested in a career in avionics.
well, we know that once we get them in the door, they're going to be hooked, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We're and I'd love to show them, because this is where the technology is really on display. There's of course a ton of training. A lot of new products are announced, so it's an exciting time for the industry.
Absolutely. All right. Well, wishing you the best. Hope it all goes well for you, and thanks again for the information about the scholarships.
Thank you.
All right. So our next guest is an organization that I like to call one of my favorite, but then I used to work for AOPA, and they probably don't want to hear me say that, but I'm a big fan of EAA, particularly with EAA's annual gathering last year, 650,000 people in a week. And they're celebrating this year their 70th anniversary. So, if it has anything to do with flying, that's just a place to be. And as I joke about it, even organizations like AOPA and NBAA and AEA and all of the alphabets, they also attend this annual summer get together. But let me move on and get started talking with Margaret Brill. As I said, Margaret Brill is the director of the EAA Aviation Foundation. Margaret, welcome.
Thanks for having me. The EAA Aviation Foundation helps support EAA and the programs that we have in education, safety, advocacy, outreach. So like you said, Vince, we have our big fly-in every year, but the other 51 weeks of the year, we're busy helping promote the spirit of aviation and getting people involved in aviation and sparking that interest and that passion for them and helping them find the avenues that work for them. In the foundation, one of our goals is to do scholarships, right? Scholarships are a great way for people to learn more about aviation. We have post-secondary scholarships that we offer. We have flight training scholarships, and we also have our Ray Scholars program. And with those various programs, EAA awards just a little over $1 million each year in scholarships to applicants. Our cycle is open right now. It opened November 1st, and it'll stay open until March 1. You can go online to eaa.org/scholarships. You can apply. It's all an online portal similar to Todd's and Mike. You fill out one application that gets you in the door to be considered for all the applications. Although I will say we do have the 2 tracks, right? So you either decide if you're doing a flight training scholarship or if you're doing a post-secondary scholarship. What else? Our online portal is pretty simple. There's a bunch of demographic questions, and then we have 3 essay questions that we ask.
3 essay questions.
3 essay questions.
What are they?
Limited. Tell us why you are the person that should be awarded this scholarship. What is your passion? How did you get into aviation? And then what's your plan? What are you going to do in the next 5 years? So if you're awarded this scholarship, what would you do with it? And those help give you a really good insight into what someone might do with a scholarship once they've been awarded.
Nice. Could you mentioned earlier about the flight training and then the post-secondary.
Yeah.
So coming back to flight training, can you give a little more specifics about what scholarships are available for that?
Right. So what we do is we offer scholarships to the flight schools in the United States. And you need to basically, when we do the application process, we'll ask you where you plan to take your flight training. And then we look at that facility to make sure that it's credible and that it is going to work for us. And then we have a process that we do, and we have you check off different milestones to get that scholarship. And we have 1 year from the time that you're awarded the scholarship to the end to finish it, because we know that the more you're flying and doing it on a regular basis, the quicker you are to finish. And we really want to see people complete.
Keep you going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha. And the post-secondary?
Yeah, so post-secondary, that's going to be your collegiate level programs. If you're looking at anything in aerospace, aviation training, aviation management, air traffic control, STEM fields, really any kind of 4-year, 2-year program that you're looking to attend and earn a degree, that's where the post-secondary scholarship would come in. It's probably important to note that we try to award a minimum of a $5,000 scholarship with each of the scholarships that we give out. And with the post-secondary, there are some, not all, that are renewable that you could get year over year. There's just some paperwork and stuff that you need to do to show that you're in good standing, that you still qualify for the scholarship. And those can help you throughout your 4 years if you're at a university or a college. Yeah.
You guys have done a lot over the years, as I mentioned earlier, and you have a lot to offer there on the grounds at Oshkosh. Specifically, though, and we don't have to get into a deep dive into it, but if you want to say a few things about it, your new Aviation Education Center is mind-blowing with all of the simulators and Redbird simulators and everything, and had the chance to tour it when I was there last summer, and it's just an amazing facility. And then you have a new program that is starting to rev up, and that's the Aero Educate. You want to talk about those a little bit?
Sure, because they all tie together, right?
Exactly.
We opened our new education center last year during AirVenture.
Right.
It is on the first floor, a pilot proficiency center with the 13 Redbirds simulators, so you can go in and you can get training on the simulators. And really, we used to have these down at the Four Corners during AirVenture at Oshkosh, and we moved them over into a permanent facility so they can be utilized year round. That'll help with safety and training all throughout the year, and groups can come to Oshkosh and utilize that facility. On the bottom, on the top floor is our space for youth education. We have 5 labs up there. We have 4 classrooms. The classrooms can be moved around and shaped to fit whatever size group is in there or whatever kind of activity is going on. The labs are, there's a wind tunnel, there's AMP, there's electronics, there's all sorts of hands-on equipment in there that they can, do a lesson and then do an activity that correlates to that lesson right away. We started to have homeschool half days in there. Different scout groups are utilizing the space. It's really starting to take off in getting youth connected with aviation. And our Aero Educate program is our online program that has different activities that students can go in and kind of badge out along the way. We've had the Young Eagles program for the last 30 years. We just celebrated the 30th anniversary of it at AirVenture last year. And Aero Educate is kind of that next step once you've done your flight. If you're looking for activities or different ways to get involved with aviation, Aero Educate is your platform to do it.
You get engaged.
Yeah. You log on, you can find different activities that are going on in your local community. You can find things you can do self-paced to get you through the journey of learning more about aviation. And it's not just becoming a pilot, but it's all of the different career tracks that aviation offers. So if you haven't checked it out, you should go check it out. Aero Educate. It's really a phenomenal platform for people who want to know more about aviation. And then, of course, because there's the career tracks, scholarships slide right into that too, right? It's part of what we're doing and just taking it that next step to offer youth that opportunity to then go explore the passions that they've uncovered through the Youth Education Center, through Aero Educate, and now they can pursue more of a career or a passion with the scholarships too.
Sure. No, that explains it quite well. So you guys have the big event coming up the last week of July.
Yes.
I mean, I just tell any and everybody, if you want to go to, I've had all kinds of descriptions of it, from an aviation fair to it's just an amazing event. The number of aircraft that are there, the kind of aircraft, and I have to admit, I've seen some airplanes that I'm like, okay, that actually flies. But no, really, if you want to get immersed in aviation and see what it's all about, that's probably one of the best events in the world to go to. And people do come from other countries just to go to Oshkosh. So, and we got spoiled last year with great weather. What's that?
Yeah, I said we have people from all over that come. And one area that we do have on the grounds too is our Aviation Gateway Park, which is where we have our education center and our career center. Aero Educate was housed there last year. So you can, if you are looking for opportunities in the aviation world, if you're looking for information about college tracks, you can come to AirVenture and find all of that in one place on the grounds as well. So it can be a really nice resource and a networking opportunity if that's what you're looking for as well. So you should come to Oshkosh.
Right. And just like I was saying to Mike, so in terms of networking for young people, I say you go to something like that and you can just walk up to pilots and mechanics and, folks and just talk to them. And they're going to tell you anything they know and with passion about our industry. So it's wide open to do that and everything. So again, March 1st is the deadline, 11:59 p.m.
Yep.
I'm just having fun from Taz saying that. It is an online portal, and you do have part of the process is answering 3 essay questions.
Yep, and there is new this year, we put up a whole FAQ. So we hope that addresses most of the questions that people have about the application process. But of course, if you find you have a question that's not answered there, you can email scholarships@eaa.org and we would be happy to help you.
What's the number one question you get?
Usually it has to do with age and the flight school, right? Does this flight school count? Would this program count? Since we are such a broad reaching organization, we have a
Right.
lot of people who want to apply who are outside of the United States, and they can, but the flight school that they attend has to be within the United States. So that's kind of a lot of the questions we field.
Gotcha. So,
Mhm.
so you mentioned that you have taken a few flight lessons. Are we going to continue this towards getting our private ticket? Not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot.
But you are, but that's okay. That's the plan, right? I'm hoping that this winter, when the weather is not all that great here in Wisconsin for flying, I can get through some of the book work and some of the paperwork, and hopefully come spring, get some hours in before the big planning of AirVenture comes. And then after AirVenture, yeah, really close it out. So that's
Wonderful.
my plan.
There you go. Margaret, thanks for taking the time to tell us all about the details with regard to your scholarship program and a little bit about EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Vince. So
last but not least, and I hate using that colloquialism, but anyhow, Glenn Calderback. Glenn, the Air Traffic Control Association. Tell us a little bit about you and the association and what it's all about, and then we'll talk about the, welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you for having me. So
absolutely, and then we'll talk about scholarships.
Sure. So I know that Mike and Margaret and Taz have already touched on some things that I agree with completely. But let's talk about ATCA. So the Air Traffic Control Association, we're a nonprofit, non-government professional organization, and we got started back in 1956. So we're often confused with NADCA, which is the union, and they of course focus on the air traffic controllers, versus ATCA, which is the Air Traffic Control Association. And we have a more broad scope of people in the industry who create and manage the technology. So our members include academic research institutions, ANSPs, aviation associations, the government and military, of course, FAA, and the overall industry. So our whole mission is just grabbing everyone together, members in the industry, to really progress the science of air traffic control and the preservation of a safe flight environment. So that's pretty much
yeah.
in a nutshell.
With the sophistication of technology in air traffic control, and just the way the industry is growing overall, the aviation industry, are there a lot of great opportunities now towards becoming an air traffic controller in different aspects?
Absolutely. And, you know, that's why we don't necessarily have one scholarship for air traffic controllers. We actually have several. So
tell us about those.
Yeah. So basically we have our first category, which is for students enrolled half to full time in a 2 to 4 year air traffic control program. And of course that has to be accredited or licensed by the FAA. As directly supporting that the FAA's College and Training Initiative. We also have the next category, which is for students enrolled half to full-time in a program leading to a bachelor's degree or higher in an aviation-related course of study. So I get a lot of questions about that from students and their parents and their counselors. And, you know, just examples could be, you know, meteorology would count, engineering would count. So, you know, that's one to consider as well. So the next category we have out of the four is, you know, one that we only had one application for last year. So I really want to make it clear that we'd like to get some more applications for this one. This is for full-time employees who are enrolled in advanced study programs to improve their skills in air traffic control or an aviation discipline. So the one caveat there is that we do see a lot of college students saying that they have a work-study program and they apply for this. So we have to reach back out to them and say, this is not applicable to you, and try to steer them towards another category.
Okay, got
Right?
you.
So overall, we get between 100 and 120 applications per year. Last year, it was a little bit thin on, as I said, the full-time employee student scholarship. We only had one application. And
So did they get it? I'm just kidding.
Then the other one was for the Buckingham Memorial Scholarship. We got one application here, and this is the one outlier as far as our scholarship offerings. So this is for children of air traffic control specialists who are enrolled in a half to full-time in a program leading to a bachelor's degree or higher in anything. So it's for an air traffic controller, the children of air traffic controllers who want to go to college. So that's the one outlier that's not really connected to aviation, other than the fact that your parent was in the ATC industry.
Got you. I was going to ask you something else and I forgot about it in terms of, I was going to ask you a couple of things. One, in terms, you mentioned something earlier about the technology center, which you said if you're kind of a techno geek like I am, so I'm going to get up there to see it. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, indeed. You're talking about the ATCA Tech Symposium, and unfortunately, we were not able to have that last year due to COVID. But if you check out the atca.org website, there's more information. But
I'm sorry, what's it called again?
Go to atca.org, and then under events, we'll have that there.
Okay.
But the event name is the ATCA Tech Symposium, and that's going to be held in Atlantic City at the Resorts Casino and Hotel. That's April 25th through the 27th. And the one nice thing about the event is that we work together with the Tech Center in Egg Harbor, and there's one day where it's Tech Center Tuesday. It's probably my favorite day of the whole year, other than Christmas and my birthday. But it's amazing because the Tech Center is opened. They have programs for students. So if you're a student and interested in technology, look into that. The Tech Center will have programs for students of all ages. And then adults who really want to go there and geek out and see behind the scenes of all of this incredible technology. And
what kind of technology?
It runs the gamut. You can look at, they have one section of their facility where they have a lineup of all the air traffic control technology that has been developed in one room, so they can, for example, if someone in a part of the world has a certain old phase of technology and they're having a problem, they can run a diagnosis with that one machine.
Okay.
And then it goes from that less tech to just more intense things like there's an area for testing concrete and runway materials. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So if
that's pretty interesting.
How much jet fuel would have to land on this before it would actually disintegrate if it was on fire?
And thus another aspect of the industry that most would not know about or think about.
Exactly. I know that Boeing sponsors one part of a workshop where they do stress testing on the fuselages of aircraft to see at what point will a certain model stress. So that's another important thing. I'll just add one more because I could just go on and on. They've got one area where they test they have a fuselage that's cut out, and they test the burn ratio, burn factors for airplane seats and other things that would be inside of an aircraft to make sure that they are meeting that standard.
Got you. You know, you had mentioned that earlier that you actually come from. So I'm just gonna segue here a little bit. But you come from an advertising background. How does that translate over into air traffic control? ACTA.
Well, as far as my first job here was in communications. So of course, all of my advertising and marketing skills, of course,
Applied.
ported very well there. The other thing that ported well was in an agency background, you learn one client like Bank of America, you become an expert, and then you get another client like IKEA, and then you become an expert, and then you get another client like LensCrafters, and then become an expert. So those are all different segments to jump into very quickly. So that's actually helped me a lot jumping into my role here. But what amazes me about the aviation industry is that there are so many different segments and so much wonderful information to learn. There's so much opportunity for anyone who wants to get into the industry.
Yeah.
So,
and once you're in, you can't get out.
That's what I hear.
You're stuck with us. Tell us your deadline again for the applications.
Yes, indeed. So this year, you may see out on the internet that they're opening on May 1st, but they're actually opening in mid-March of 2023. And then they're closing on May 1st. The reason we're moving that back is that, and last year was my first year handling the scholarship program. And I guess I got to pay out the checks to the students from the previous year, which was probably the best part of the scholarship experience for me. Actually, second best would be calling those winners and letting them know they won. And sometimes they're in tears, sometimes they stop their car and shout and scream for joy. But that's great. But the challenge was that if we don't get the applications in soon enough, we're having an issue with the payouts. So we just moved that back. And that gives students a chance to go ahead and do that. So, I just want to touch on something else as far as what I've learned.
Sure.
From my first foray last year. And that's start the process early. Even though the applications aren't open, go ahead and start that process of getting transcripts. That's really important. So we want transcripts. We also require some letters of recommendation. So it'd be great to get 2 or 3. We recommend that our applicants send in 2 to 3, but those are sometimes hard to get. So I encourage everyone, don't wait until the scholarship opens up. Get those letters of recommendations from your counselors, from your teachers, from anyone that you work with in the community that you volunteer with. And then same thing, this is more relevant for college students, but start the process of getting the transcripts early.
Yeah, Glenn, that is really great advice that you're suggesting to kind of get the ball rolling for whether the scholarship application process is already in motion or is coming up. Exactly. To kind of be ahead of the game. That's really great advice. Listen, I want to thank you, and I'm actually going to come to everybody now and thank you all for joining the show and giving us some details. There's something I always like to do as I kind of wrap things up, and Glenn, you set me up perfectly for it. So I'm going to take advantage of what you just said. And I'm going to ask everyone else, if you would, to just chime in for a minute and, tell us what you've learned or what your ultimate recommendation is for young people that are pursuing getting in the industry and are trying to get a scholarship to help them do that. I'll start with you, Margaret.
Well, I think if you are interested in learning more about the aviation industry or getting your foot in the door, just don't shy away from it. Don't be scared of it. I know there's a ton of information out there, but take that first step. Be brave and really dig into it, because you'll be amazed at what you find on the other side.
Perfectly said. Taz?
I would say networking, getting to know people, like you said earlier, introducing yourself to pilots, taking advantage of our membership resources, just putting yourself out there and making introductions.
Well said. Mike?
I agree completely. I think you have to talk to as many people as possible and really listen to the advice they give you. They've probably been down this path themselves, and there's just a wealth of knowledge. So listen intently to what they're telling you and take a step at a time. And as far as the scholarship process, don't wait until 11:59 on the deadline day.
No? Okay.
Start your work early. It shows up on those applications.
Very good. Glenn, any
just
last add?
Yeah, be curious, ask, and explore. We've got the World Wide Web, the internet. Go crazy. Go to Wikipedia. Go to the websites that interest you. They'll lead you to other areas of interest. And then probably, if you can, go to the Uwe Haase Smithsonian Museum.
Yes.
And it's the best place if you're interested in aviation. It'll show you everything in one facility. It's quite
That's
amazing.
true. Although I'm going to also say now that the Air and Space downtown is halfway through its renovation. I went to it when they opened it up. It's pretty amazing too. So I'm a huge Uwe Haase fan, but they're also doing great stuff with the Air and Space downtown.
Agreed.
Yeah. So parents, grandparents, legal guardians, teachers, counselors, advisors, administrators, etc. If you know of someone who's aspiring to be an aviation or aerospace professional, I'd like to ask you to please share my webcast with them. It's available on demand on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and will be available in about a day or so as an audio-only podcast for wherever you listen to your podcasts. Listen, everybody, thank you for being on the show. Audience, thank you for watching and listening to my first episode of All Things Aviation Aerospace for 2023. Everybody, by the way, coming up on my next show will be about internship programs. And then also there will be one on aviation summer camps. This is the time of the year when parents and folks are trying to figure out what their kids are going to do. And it's also when these programs are opening up for application. So be having more conversations about these opportunities. Everybody, I'm Vince Mickens with Private Air Media. Till the next time, take care, stay safe, blue skies, and have a good one. Thanks, guys.